Thanks for tuning in to Steel City Football, the 4-1-2. It's a great day to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. Let's jump right in. So, Patrick Rooney Jr., he has a lot to say about TJ Watt's contract, and he has a lot to say about the Baltimore Ravens kicking the you know what out of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's jump into these articles and go from there. Before I start, I know everybody's entitled to their opinion. Football is a very critical game, and this is America. But don't you think if you're Patrick Rooney Jr., you could have did your family a favor and just kept your comments to yourself until the TJ Watt negotiations are over? He's not just a player. TJ Watt's not just another guy that wore the black and gold. He's an absolute legend on the field and in the locker room. And this is just a bad look for the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know, ever since the Minka Fitzpatrick trade, it just seems like we were doing so good. We were doing so great. And to me, in my perspective, in my opinion, all of a sudden now things are going bad and it just seems to be getting worse right before the season starts. Hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm 100% wrong. But I really wish that Patrick Rooney Jr. would have kept these comments to himself until the contract negotiations between TJ Watt and the Pittsburgh Steelers were over. We don't need TJ Watt taking this situation any more personally than he's probably already taking it. If you're TJ Watt and you're sitting back and you're looking at all the money that the Pittsburgh Steelers spent on other players that have never played a down for the Pittsburgh Steelers organization, we're all human. He's got to be taking it somewhat personal, and I don't blame him if he was. Let's jump into these articles and we'll go from there. Absolutely insane to pay TJ Watt, member of Rooney family believes. Oh boy. TJ is a great player, great Steeler. Insane to pay him anything right now. Absolutely insane. He's 31 years old, Rooney said via Palm Beach Kennel Club on X. But again, if you're going all in this year, then you're going to have to re-sign him. But again, you're making moves right now that you're trying to do something for this year. That to me, based on anything you've seen in the last several years, just doesn't make sense. The first thing I want to address is this narrative and rumor that the media is just running with, that the Pittsburgh Steelers are all in this year and they're really going for it. What year are they not really all in or really not going for it? It's the stupidest narrative ever. Oh, all of a sudden now, because the Pittsburgh Steelers brought in Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf, they're trying to win a Super Bowl, but all the other years they weren't trying to win a Super Bowl. It's just so ridiculous. Just stop already. The Pittsburgh Steelers are all in every single year, regardless who the quarterback is, regardless of who's on the defense. We're never rebuilding. We're just reloading and trying to win the Super Bowl every single year. If you really believe that Coach Tomlin, Omar Khan, that and this is the year that they're really all in compared to any other years, I mean, it's just downright stupid. They're trying to win every single game, every single year. This isn't a special year where they're going all in. It's just dumb. The Pittsburgh Steelers should have handled TJ Watt's contract before it even came to this. They should have seen how much below he's getting paid below the market compared to other pass rushers. They should have came to him, saved themselves some money, but they didn't. They chose to handle it the wrong way, just like they always do. The Pittsburgh Steelers have a history of doing this to their star players. And you know what Coach Tomlin also has a history of doing? Bringing in bad players, thinking he can fix them, giving them big contracts, bringing problems into the locker room. But there's one thing that the Pittsburgh Steelers that they just can't get it right. And that's rewarding the guys that are, and that's rewarding the players that are the culture of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, we're talking about TJ Watt here, a guy last year who had 11.5 sacks, who was ranked number one in run defense at his position. And people think that's a down year. And 31 is old. The Pittsburgh Steelers just brought in Jalen Ramsey, who's 31 years old, to play corner of all places. But nobody has a problem with that. The guy's going to make, Jalen Ramsey's going to make $27 million a year. TJ Watt deserves to be the highest paid pass rusher in the entire NFL. Yes, I believe that TJ Watt is the best pass rusher in the NFL, but there's also stats to prove it. And not only is he the best pass rusher to play in the NFL, he's the best pass rusher ever to play in the NFL. And the numbers don't lie. You know, if I'm TJ Watt this time around, last contract extension, he gave the Pittsburgh Steelers a hometown discount. Nobody's talking about it. And because the way the Pittsburgh Steelers handled this situation this time around, if I'm TJ Watt, I'm taking it personal and I want to be the highest paid pass rusher in the NFL. And I really hope he gets every single penny because he deserves it. I have a question for Patrick Rooney Jr. Did you watch the games last year? Did you watch every single snap? Did you see that every single week TJ Watt was double and triple teams every single play? You don't think that means anything? You don't think that counts for anything? And guess what? Every single week, TJ Watt was lined up on the same side of the field and still got 11.5 sacks last year and was still ranked number 1 in run defense at his position. Every other team in the NFL knew how to game plan for TJ Watt. They knew where he was going to be, and he still put up incredible numbers. Look, again, Patrick Rooney Jr. is entitled to his opinion. I just felt he should keep it to himself. Don't say this. If you really care about the Pittsburgh Steelers and your family, why would you come out and say this during contract negotiations? Just keep it to yourself a little while longer. And then Patrick Rooney Jr. says that the Baltimore Ravens are going to absolutely kick the you-know-what out of the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. He's just on a roll. Did he have too many cocktails playing golf or something? He just, just winging it, saying how he really feels. He couldn't keep these comments to himself till after contract negotiations or after the games. No, he's got to come out before the season and say this kind of stuff. Ooh, must be an interesting dinner at Thanksgiving with the Rooney family. So let's jump into this article. Patrick Rooney Jr. bashes Steelers decisions, says Ravens will steamroll us this year. Wow, he's on a roll. Patrick Rooney Jr. went on to say, for whatever reason, there's been this narrative around the Steelers like, we're going to go all in this year. Rooney said Wednesday on the PBKC Picks podcast. What does that mean? Do you think even if you had Aaron Rodgers from 10 years ago, that you're going to be able to compete with Joe Burrow and you're going to be able to compete with Lamar Jackson? The whole key to the NFL is winning your division. That at least gives you a modicum of chance to get to the Super Bowl. What in God's name does it make you think that you're going to be able to compete with Baltimore and Cincinnati? Cincinnati's defense is terrible, but their offense is light years ahead of us, and Baltimore is just a better team. And I think they finally realized it by kicking the crap out of us in the playoff game last year. They are going to steamroll us this year. Wow. Well, up into the playoff game, the Steelers had the Baltimore Ravens number, and we beat them a multiple amount of times before the playoff game. So, I mean, again, Patrick Rooney Jr. is entitled to his opinion, and I don't know if he had a couple. I don't know what's going on here, but I mean, maybe Patrick Rooney Jr. is just like the rest of us. We're just angry fans, and we just want to win the Super Bowl. And until we win the Super Bowl, we're just all gonna be angry together. Maybe that's the problem. But and then Patrick Rooney Jr. goes on to talk about DK Metcalf, the head case, and Jalen Ramsey, the head case. Oh, Patrick went on to say Ramsey's kind of a head case. Rooney said during a Wednesday interview on the PBKC Picks podcast, and this team is not generally conducive to being able to deal with head cases. I absolutely agree with him. That's the first comment that Patrick Rooney Jr. made that I agree with. Patrick Rooney Jr. also went on to say, for the Steelers, Rooney concerns went beyond personality. Patrick Rooney Jr. is also very concerned about the secondary. He goes on to say, you're getting Jalen Ramsey, who's 30. You're getting rid of Minkah Fitzpatrick, who's 28. Ramsey's just as much of a head case as some of the other guys that we brought in, he said. We already got Darius Slay, who's 31 or 32. We tried it with Patrick Peterson and some of the other guys. When you get these guys that are older and especially trying to play corner, it generally doesn't work out. Rooney offered a similar but softer critique about Metcalf. You're bringing a DK Metcalf, who's a little bit like George Pickens in terms of being a head case. He said, so you got another one in there. Wow. Whoa. Patrick Rooney Jr. is going scorched earth. He's, we're just all angry Steelers fans. We're all angry together. That's all I could say. Until we win a Super Bowl, we're just an angry group of people. Oh, boy. Well, I don't agree with Patrick Rooney Jr. when it comes to TJ Watt, but as far as Jalen Ramsey, I absolutely agree with Patrick Rooney Jr. I love DK Metcalf. Hopefully, we can get him to calm down a little bit. I don't think he's going to be as bad as George Pickens. I don't think there's any player in the league as bad as George Pickens, but Jalen Ramsey isn't too far off from being George Pickens. That's why I call Jalen Ramsey George Pickens 2.0. With that being said, thanks for tuning in to Steel City Football, the 412.